Let's do it! All right. Matt's got to sharing this to the group.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a Corey Graves, Michael Cole saying tables, ladders, and chairs, oh my, over-undering. Was that a convoluted segment of a sentence? I think it sure was. Matt, we're going to be doing the Getting What We Want audit. My God, who doesn't love a good audit? Matt, we're going to talk about Kenny Omega jumping ship to Impact. Matt, it looks like it's real. He's going to be at a pay-per-view. Matt, there's more. Kyle O'Reilly putting in his bid for Match of the Year. You little rascal. We already put our votes in. Now we got to retabulate everything. Matt, it's an episode of the Brothers of Discussion. We're going to talk everything from Jaxson Ryker, shockingly, still having a job. Who knew? We're going to get you geared up for the final pay-per-view of 2020. Yeah, fuck you, 2020. And, Matt, I don't know if you dug into the notes, but your dreams are coming true. A physical WWE Hall of Fame is being built. Matt, I can't wait to talk another hot, tasty, spicy, Cold Red Mountain Dew Field episode. Matt, how are things at the Casa de Ed?
They're doing great. Yeah, I actually didn't see the Hall of Fame thing, so I'm excited to talk for 3 hours today. This is great. I thought it was pretty important to talk about the 2-year anniversary of Getting What We Want. We've also got tables, ladders, and chairs, so it's just we can't avoid the Wednesday Night War. It's never ending. So yeah, Matt's pretty sad right now that he didn't go grab a soda. But luckily he did his latte with the extra shot. So that's what I'm going to be fueling the next.
Before we get into it, Matt, I just have a quick question for you. Today we did get snow in Michigan, where we're broadcasting from. I did wear a winter hat. Matt, how is the winter hat hair looking on camera?
It doesn't look like hat hair at all. I feel like you just want me to compliment you and how your hair looks.
Whoops. I guess I got a free compliment. Matt, where can the beautiful people find everything, Brothers of Discussion?
Mike wanted me to talk about how his hair looks like hat hair. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening through the podcast later, I apologize. This is the hair. He looks like he gelled it up and has like a nice matte finish to it. That's MATTE. So yeah, good on you, Mike. Thanks for Oh
no, was I wearing a hat today? Oh no, it's so disorderly. What happened?
I mean,
whoa! Jesus, Matt, you need like a Baron Corbin buzz, I think.
I mean, yeah, like I'm pretty close to Barry Melrose at this point. I did bun it up the other day to my wife's dismay. She was not thrilled about that, but I just wanted to see if I could do it.
You know what you look like? What I imagine Wolverine looks like underneath that yellow, black, and blue mask.
With all instead of my hair out here, it's just matted back.
Form-fitting to the old Wolverine mask there.
No, yeah. I was thrilled that the winter season started because I was starting to look a little ridiculous actually because my hair would puff out under my ball caps. So having the net cap on top is it really keeps everything down and it's squished down there. But yeah, I'm totally I've got the mullet. It's there. I just need to. If I cut down on the sides, I've got my mullet ready to go.
I mean,
for the hockey podcast.
I thought maybe you had a heel turn coming, like a Sami Zayn. You know, every time you change your hair, that's a character change. So,
yeah, I mean, I could be what?
Heel Matt.
I've gone through like Dad Matt, so now this is just unemployed COVID Matt. I think he's a little more depressing. He's gonna have to seek help.
Like bulk cereal, Matt.
Yeah, I think, what is it? BetterHelp? Is that the new app that everybody's using? I am getting a ton of notifications, and I'm pretty pissed because the system is supposed to stop notifications while we're recording, so there's going to be a lot of beeping and booping the whole time, I guess, that we're recording. So it'll be fun. Anywho, I apologize for that, everybody. Just realized that that's going on. But Mike, you want to make sure you usually give me this opportunity to transition into where everybody can find us. That's at BOD Podcast on Twitter. We are the Brothers of Discussion on our YouTube channel. We highly recommend checking that out. We are posting both this show and our Red Wings rant. And Mike, we had the first Beating It with the Blush Boys appearance on the YouTube channel. There's more to come in that regard. So you just use that sentence. There's more to come. Use the name of the group, Beating It with the Blush Boys. It's a video game show, so yeah, there's more to come in regards to Beating It with the Blush Boys. But if you tuned in yesterday to the YouTube channel, you got a brief taste. We did some testers as our good buddy Brent and I went through the new Warzone maps. So something to check out over on the YouTube page. We came in second place on our first try on the new Warzone map, so we were pretty stoked. So much more. You go check that out on the YouTube page. If you could do us the favor, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review does the best thing for us and the show. We've been mentioning it now for 160 episodes. Mike, welcome to episode 160. We're 40 weeks away from celebrating episode 200. We should start cranking out these shows daily to hit episode 200 and have a huge guest. But
you don't have to do that, Matt. There's no integrity in wrestling. Just Bill Goldberg it.
Oh, that's true. We'll be at episode 200 next week, everybody. So tune in. It'll be fun. All right. Where are we, Mike? You wanna jump into some of this wrestling talk because we've got so much to talk about. We already wasted 8 minutes just jibber jabbering.
Yeah, let's do it. Matt, you brought this up earlier. You were very excited about this. You posted a real video. Matt, it is the 2-year anniversary of WWE stock plummeting, viewership going down the toilet, and Triple H, Vince, Shane, and Stephanie trotting out into the middle of the ring and saying, "We're going to give you guys what you want." Matt.
And Mike, make sure you let me know if you hear zero audio because you are my you're my go-to on this. But yeah, here it is, everybody.
Here we go. We don't own this video. Okay, I didn't hear anything on that one.
All right, Mike. We were declared the authority at that point.
What a verbal Trojan horse that was.
Somebody just posted on Twitter too the new superstars they were referring to, EC3, Lacey Evans. We had Heavy Machinery. Who else? Nikki Cross. They were all featured as they're coming up to the main roster. Oh, Lars Sullivan, obviously. So just a who's who of giant titans of the WWE industry at this point. No, I mean, obviously, we just in that regard. But Mike, I mean, even the people that got their chances, I would say Lacey Evans probably has had the best WWE career since that was announced. But even Otis was given the Money in the Bank, and they were too afraid to let that continue. But let's go back. Let's go macro. Let me set this up here. Being the 2-year anniversary, being that the ratings for Monday Night Raw again were they broke records 2 years ago, Mike, in regards to ratings. They broke that record again this past week for the lowest Monday Night Raw rating, and we're talking about the entire time it was declining. All right, I guess with the way my camera's working, it was want to go like that. But it's not
declining. Like it's on a sharp decline all the way.
Well, it's not. I mean, my point is, it's not that number is also, was like the lowest number this past week. I mean, that record has been broken week after week after week. Like even after that announcement, there still wasn't like a comeback. The ratings just continued to drop. Now, a key element of that is people don't watch TV the same way they used to. So much along the line of we've been talking about NXT and AEW, the ratings are dropping because the habits are not the same. So you're comparing apples to oranges when you say, "Oh my gosh, look how low the ratings are compared to the Monday Night War or even 2 years ago." It literally changes every day. The skew for the younger generations, and every day there's a new TV viewer and an old TV viewer dies off. That's just the long and short of it. So that is the truth that has to be
mixed. That sounds like somebody who worked at a cigarette company.
Right. But besides that, I think there is still something to that discussion. So I want to add the asterisk to it. But there's something to breaking the record week after week for like lowest Raws, or at least month after month, you've got a new low that comes on in. So, Mike, macro level, would you say, without us dissecting too much, did we get what we want?
Yes.
Okay.
I
was also going to throw in there.
I'm almost universally happy with every champion. It took 2 years, but every champion and the main event picture has been solid for almost since the Royal Rumble, I'd say, all the way through. So as far as getting what we want, I don't think it was ever about I needed Tucky in the main event. That's okay if he's not a main event guy. It was just about storytelling and making it feel like that there was a plan going on, and it to me it did feel like they did that this year. They at least accomplished it in 2020. As far as like getting what we want, I think ultimately the one thing that I can't believe they're not utilizing the AEW market research and seeing that a 2-hour program is doing as well as all the broadcasts that WWE produces Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in addition to documentaries and their own creative content. Less is more, and in a time when people would rather just watch a highlight video or a clip or do a TikTok, WWE is doubling down and saying, nope, we're still going to do a 3-hour show and then a 1-hour show and then a 2-hour show and then pay-per-views in between. Oh, and don't forget NXT UK. So if they really want to give us what we want, I think it's just a little bit less because, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. And instead, they just want to oversaturate it. And, they're just trying to get it to a point where if you happen to turn on a TV any day of the week, there's a likelihood you're going to see something wrestling related, something WWE related. So, creatively, I'm pretty happy with the product. It's just give me a little less.
Yeah, and I really thought I'd be sitting here trying to convince you because we're just a couple months away removed from when I wrote this feels like the renaissance of WWE champions. What's funny is I saw the post of this video earlier this week. So some people got all the Twitter traction, even though they were about 4 days ahead of time when the actual anniversary was. But we're here on the day, so you guys, you pat us on the back. But the point was like it got me thinking immediately. My gut reaction was, what a joke! They told us we were going to get what we want. Mike, if we looked at the guys that we've wanted to go into the championship conversation, Mike, your favorite guy over the last couple of years is Otis Dozovich, and he held on to the Money in the Bank fudging briefcase for months. Now, he doesn't have it anymore because they got scared, but it's not like if you give the Money in the Bank briefcase to The Miz, that's a bad choice. That was something that if that happened at the time, I think we all would have been cool with because we're all in love with The Miz anyway. Yeah. But I think we all did jump the gun. I think, I want to admit that was my gut reaction was, what a joke. We didn't get what we wanted. But on, that further journey, I think absolutely there were ridiculous things that happened. There's things we could talk about right now that, we're disappointed with how the retribution is turning out. And there were a lot of lost jobs, and that's maybe something that we want to come back and talk about. But I think we would want to focus on creative in this conversation. And honestly, pro wrestling is tough. And when they give themselves this job of trying to tell, 8 hours, sometimes 12 hours worth of story in 1 week, that is going to be very difficult. And a lot of it is going to be very bad. But if we can look at the types of people that I wanted to see in the championship conversation, I can't be disappointed with the fact that we've been treated to Bailey, Asuka, Becky, and Sasha trading the SmackDown and Raw women's titles.
Right.
I'm definitely stoked about Drew McIntyre because I accidentally. I'll say this, Mike.
Did you call your wife McIntyre?
Huh?
Did you accidentally call your wife Drew?
So I was trying to get you another Christmas present. And to get a discount, I needed to get another item. So I said, fuck it. I'll get another McIntyre t-shirt for myself. Now, Mike, your gift was actually a pre-order. So I'm going to get my new McIntyre t-shirt tomorw. And your gift won't be here till maybe February. So, yeah. There you go. So Matt's got another McIntyre t-shirt on the way. But I guess what I want is everybody to sit there and ask themselves, like, reassess this situation. Mike, I mean, this is a WWE that has a top storyline that has nothing to do with the WWE or the Universal title. And that is The Fiend and those storylines. I think if you want to look at this company, maybe we just write them off as not a tag team wrestling company. So that's where there's a major disappointment in regards to champions. Maybe not who they've selected as champions, but the story that's told behind whatever they're back.
There are no contenders. It's literally just the New Day and then the Street Profits. There's nobody. There's no formidable foe for either of them.
And I just want to
except for each other.
And I want to run through the list here because one of the things I was holding back on because I think. Well, I want to give everybody their due here. So Dan Brown, he's at Lions Games YT. The good. Roman Reigns turning heel. Absolutely, that was a good move. Now the bad, he said, lack of new challengers for titles. Always the same, such as Randy Orton. But I mean, to go against that though, he did bring up Jey Uso was one of the challengers. So I would say, especially while we're watching like NXT right now. Hey, Mike, we just watched Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly give us a match of the year for a number one contender for the NXT title. And you definitely can't forget NXT, even though they brand it as NXT, still a WWE product. So we can't forget that. That is still a banger. One of our good friends at Neon Ghost 41, also known as Venus Blue, she brought up Kofi Mania and Daniel Bryan came right after that announcement. That was gold. Now, the negative was Kofi losing the title. But even to that end, like I think the change there is we just give Kofi like an honorable loss. Also put out their bad booking, putting themselves in a corner for Seth and The Fiend. And that goes back to should The Fiend have just been doing his revenge tour. I'll run through these a little bit quicker, though. I got to stop this. We have Mitch Germain. The good is Casey Catanzaro in the Royal Rumble. So that's just one good thing that they threw out there. Bad, pushing Charlotte over everyone. And that, see, and I think the point of me bringing that one up is that one's not that bad. I think there's worse things.
I want to know if that guy was in, was he at the Rumble with us? Because it feels like he wrote that one back in January, because I felt that way that night, but now I've kind of moved on. It kind of felt like Charlotte should have won though. Now in retrospect,
right? And we've got Jolly Guy Dave put in there. He did like the no rematch clause, but his negative is also the no rematch clause because he thought at first it was storyline and now it's gone away. So now it means nothing. There's no purpose to it. We have Aaron Walker threw in. The good was the Drew McIntyre push as the top baby face, and the bad. I would say his was having Goldberg go over the Fiend. I would just say any involvement of Goldberg in a championship conversation, and we've talked about that ad nauseum in regards to Sting coming back and how we think that's going to be booked properly. So the bad. I mean, there was also like the different brands could come visit. Was one of the things I saw posted online by our buddy Mr. Warren Hayes. He had a pretty good list. Like some of the ideas they tried to do to bring people to the show. I think those ideas, something like the 24/7 championship, that I don't.
I think now it's kind of run its course, but I do like the idea because I think people really used to get a
Trying
kick out of the hardcore championship, and now
Right.
it's just kind of like they're not sure what to do. So it's just Akira Tozawa and you get Truth getting a cameo on Monday Night Raws or whatever. But at the time, I kind of get it.
Yeah, and I
It adds
just
that spontaneity, and it could just happen at any time. So it added a little tweak to the 3-hour show.
Yeah, and I know we have so many topics to talk about, but I did promise everybody we were going to talk about this. So I think even going through that list and asking the Twitterverse to like give us their opinion, like what really went wrong here, and again, it's just further assessment. It's going into the weeds and figuring out what really went wrong. And now we look at where the champions lie right now, where the stories are right now. I think again, it's just going to come back to there's too much. Because when we point out the bad, it's because we're trying to fill out almost 12 hours of pro wrestling. And really, we just need 4 or 5 hours tops. And if that was the case, then our main conversations or our main storylines would be our championship storylines that we're in love with. You throw in the Fiend, and then you probably have more focus on the tag division. And then that's not a topic to run down. I got to say, that's probably the long and short of it.
Yeah. The NFL, they're branching out into other days, but I guarantee you the biggest day is still going to be Sundays. People just staying and picking that time to watch their game, for a couple hours and not trying to do every single effing night. But yeah, I think overall it's been better. I don't know why there's this continued, determined, stubborn stance to just keep creating and having these marathon wrestling sessions every week. But maybe when the old man dies, we'll get it figured out. But man, we can move on.
Well, we got to throw out there real quick. We are getting some feedback from. We've got Amy who's throwing out there, and Amy, thanks for checking in. I wish they'd get serious about the women's tag division or just nix it. That is a great point. And I'm going to bring this back to where we were wrapping up, Mike. And then we also have at Mr. Ganasoke, also trust no one improve is his name on Twitter.
Wow.
He brings up what we were mentioning was facts about the Kofi squash and then the Fiend Revenge Tour. Basically, he threw out there if he wins the belt, he should dominate for a year. Which is right along the lines of where we thought, finish the Revenge Tour, then become the most dominant champion in WWE. Like that could have totally worked. All right. So I'm gonna do like a whammy button here. We're gonna bring it right back to what we said. Because you bring back Goldberg because you feel like you need to fill out another main event match. Like you feel like you need more star power. You bring in the women's tag division, where either, like Amy's right, either focus on it or just get rid of it. And I think they threw it in there because they just wanted another championship to fill out their time slots. I think they just wanted something to go to when they wanted to freshen up the storyline or just try something else. I don't think they went into it with a lot of thought. And I think it just comes back to the idea that this is just them trying to spread out more WWE into these 12-hour weeks. And again, normally not 12 hours, but I'm throwing in like if it's a pay-per-view week, you have a lot of wrestling to watch.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to bring those up because I think they are fantastic points. They're more negatives, but I also think they just come back to the idea that if they were more focused, if they had a shorter amount of space to fill pro wrestling wise, like the problem is they're too big. They're too successful. So USA just can't get enough of those top ratings, I guess, in that realm of where USA sits in comparison to other cable channels.
Like with what USA makes, I don't know if it's kind of like that theory where like the Paranormal Activity, the movie, right? That costs like a handful, like a sack full of quarters to make. And it made, $100 million, and now it's a franchise. So it's almost like wrestling is the horror movie of cable TV, where it's really cheap to produce. You just get a ring and a couple guys, oiled up, mostly naked dudes, let them bump meat, and that's 3 hours of programming. We got to get those Snickers ads out. All right, let's see another 4 hours, WWE. What do you got for us, huh? So the only other thing is, Amy, I didn't want to have your point just go out into the wind. I really was intrigued when they gave Shayna, who I love, bought the T-shirt, and Nia, not my favorite wrestler of all time, but I get what they're doing. You know, she could be the monster heel, and I really wanted them to double down and just kind of pummel the division until some out of the embers, some new wrestling tag team would come up and finally overcome Shayna and Nia. But it just seems like, well, these two women are dominating, and they're just gonna mostly do singles matches for a while and beat up poor Lana. So I don't know. I thought maybe Mandy had a shot. They broke up the Iconics. I think what it was really going to be was Kairi and Asuka, and obviously that's over. So, yeah. I wish they'd give it another shot, because I love watching Shayna matches. They always seem that I almost want to call it Shayna Strong style, where it looks like real violence is happening to the poor victims. Oh, I miss our Kabuki Warriors too. If you check, usually there's T-shirts are on sale. Amy, perfect time to go buy one. But yeah, I guess that was the end of that point. I just wish that they'd actually do some tag matches with Shayna and Nia.
Right. No, and I think I mean that's a whole nother conversation. Like we could. I know you said you didn't want Amy's point to just go to the win, but I just wanted to keep that focus around the did we get what we want? And I ultimately, again, that's another thing that Amy wants, and she didn't get it. But I think it just comes back to there's too much spread out in too many directions. But Mike, you wanted to talk about the return of burning someone alive.
Oh yeah, this will be a really quick segment. Randy Orton setting ablaze Bray Wyatt while he was in a makeshift coffin, or it looked like a stagehand's gear travel box. And I really want to throw him some appreciation, because I noticed how carefully he spread the oil on that box so it wasn't near any of the creases where it would open. I don't know if you noticed that as well. But for me, I know he was burning someone, but it was a heartwarming moment to think Randy did want to do this dangerous stunt, but also look out for Bray Wyatt's actual well-being. So I'm glad this is coming back. I'm glad this is going to be the fire. We're going to get a Firefly light him on fire match this Sunday. I don't know how that's going to go. Neither of them are wearing green singlets that you can safely light on fire. So we'll see. I imagine one of the puppets is going up in flames.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into that later. And then, Mike, you also saw that there's a WWE Hall of Fame in Orlando going up. I'll tell you about a point that can just blow away in the wind for me.
Well, Ric Flair definitely had. I think he had his Tom Holland giving away the Avengers movies moment because he gave away, oops, we're going to build a physical WWE Hall of Fame. It's going to be in Orlando. It's going to be, probably adjacent to the Performance Center, near, Disney World and all that stuff in Orlando. And I don't hate the idea. I think, we really enjoy the WWE Network, right? Because you can kind of hop into the halls of history and, kind of learn about the legends. And I think it would be, as somebody who likes going to museums, like going to DC and learning history, I think there's a real opportunity here, to see a modernized historical look at, WWE wrestling, and hopefully they can get the rights to expand a little bit past, into the WWE, WWF, WCW kind of ownership, and start building out, maybe a grand wrestling Hall of Fame. Obviously, it won't start like that. WWE first, of course. But I'm intrigued. I want to see. I guess some of the. I don't know if I need a video, or there's going to be interactive, exhibits and stuff like that. But if they can take some cues from the other sports who have little Hall of Fames, maybe get you in the ring, let you cut a promo, let you meet, Matt Bloom, somebody like that. I don't think that's a terrible idea at all.
Well, there's also like at the same time, this was news a couple weeks ago, is the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame going up in Albany, New York. So I don't know if this is to compete with that, if they have a bunch of guys that they want to make sure stay in the WWE Hall of Fame and don't go to the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Who knows what's going to happen there, if there's any sort of relationship between those two. If things are going to go in one Hall of Fame, can't make it into the other one. That to me is more honest. I think something that would stay outside of the realm of WWE, where it's going to focus on pro wrestling and not be about WWE. I think that's where, to me, if I know this international Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is going up, and the first inductees is August 2021. That to me seems, more legit. That's the thing I want to spend my time on. The WWE one just seems like, we've talked about it so many times. We're 160 episodes in. That everything about the Hall of Fame is just, it's another revenue stream, where if you get the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame moving, like that's what it's. That's the entity. That's the thing. So yeah, it's going to need money to continue to grow and exist. Right. But it's not just about. I think that'll operate more like the museum that you want to see, and that's what I'd hope for. I think with the WWE Hall of Fame, it sounds kind of neat to like turn it into a day, like go visit the Hall of Fame and then go watch an episode of NXT get made, down the road, or maybe across the street, kind of thing. Like that would be a fun little trip. But yeah, I still have the same problems with it. I guess when I saw that you put that in there, that was the first place my head went. Amy threw in there. It's basically a joke, but it was cool being there in person when that wackadoo attacked Bret Hart. So as long as Amy can get, Amy, we'll see if we can get a video of just a repeat of that. So when you come into the Hall of Fame, maybe you can reenact it. They'll have you be Bret Hart. You put on the leather jacket and you got to put on the sunglasses, and then they're gonna have some guy run up behind you and tackle you, and you gotta.
I gotta hope that I can be the revival portion, and I get to see somebody get beat up, and then I get to just bare knuckle brawl somebody to death. No, it's just that a lot of my memories are with WWE, and I would, I guess, like to see both Hall of Fame or museums. The only reason I hesitate to go to the international one is I don't know what kind of permission they're going to have to show, like, WWE owned property and highlights and stuff like that. So point. I would definitely want to see, I don't want to see like blurred names and blurred, WWE logos, and, you can't really have the audio without the permission. But right. I do wish that whoever, curates what's going on in Florida, that I know it's a corporate entity, but just a little bit of honesty with like the ebbs and flows. So I would appreciate that. Matt, let's do one other piece here, and then we'll kind of get into the Wednesday Night Wars. I know people are all up in arms about some of the superstars getting sent down to back to Florida, back to the Performance Center, to go to classes that allegedly are being taught by Drew Gulak and Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce of the Drew McIntyre fame. He's going to be teaching promos to Keith Lee. I could see him teaching the McIntyre line to Otis. And then basically some of the big guys going down, man. It's Keith Lee, Otis, Omos, the gigantic sidekick of AJ Styles, Dabba-kato, and Mace from the Revival. I think we touched on it last week, but just kind of seeing the names spelled out and why they're going down, it actually looks like kind of a positive. I think people are upset because we thought Keith Lee was kind of a finished product, and because he was such a known entity in NXT, but
yeah,
he does look on Monday Night Raw you can kind of see it on his face. Like he's trying to be Keith Lee, but he's also trying to kind of bend to what they expect at the main roster from a big guy. So with these guys getting set down, it just looks like they actually see value in these people, and they want to make sure that they really hone the craft so that they can be, like an even larger success. So I don't see it as a negative. I actually see it as a big positive for Lee and Otis, especially.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. If it was something where they didn't see any hope, these guys would all be gone. And I think they do see, that. I guess they've already established or placed a value point on them, and I think that would be the time where it's a crying shame is if they all lost their job. Like that's the point to complain. I think if they're spending more time to make these guys better, whatever they think is better, I think that just means they could have easily given up on them and they've chosen to go in a different direction. So that in that regard, I completely agree. I'm glad you brought it up too, because that was another thing that it becomes tough when you're on social media to just sit there and you've got the whole world that's angry about one thing, and do you just you throw in your opinion that goes against the grain, and it pretty much just falls silent because you got to hope for likes and retweets, and basically when you come at it from like that sound or the level-headed direction, and you can find a positive and like developing people, like Amy and I talked about it actually, just direct messaging each other, and we threw in there like, I've never considered myself a finished product, and I always want to hear if there's a place I can do better. I think it's just one of those things, like I bet all of those guys are fine with it, and they're like, absolutely, let's get better, let's do whatever we can. And from the fan perspective, I mean, now you're talking fans, right? Now you've got people that have invested time and money to know these people, watch all their matches, and it goes back to like the brand loyalty article I wrote. It's just that I'm happy that they're supporting these wrestlers. It's just you don't want to look silly for going, Keith Lee's my favorite, and now he's being told that he needs some more work. Like that's kind of where that whole idea comes from, and you start to back this guy and say, no, he doesn't need any development. He's the best ever. And it's more of I mean, it's smarter people than me will have the words to explain what the psychological aspect is of that, like why we hold these types of things so near and dear to our hearts, and if somebody challenges it, we need to fight back. It's just that Keith Lee did such a good job in NXT. He made so many fans that I think we might blind ourselves to the fact, Mike, you and I, we've made fun of Keith Lee's promos. So, I mean, it's something where we make fun of AJ Styles promos too. It's just at this point, AJ's such a good pro wrestler. He can turn in those dong shit promos. And we're fine with it. I just think Keith Lee is also a great performer, but I think like AJ's advanced years, not that he's an old fart, but he's further down the line than Keith, that there's more opportunity for Keith to, let's figure this out before we let it go too far. Let's see if there's something we can do now before it gets out of hand, or before we just say, okay, this guy's not a promo guy.
I don't know if anybody was necessarily doing cartwheels when before McIntyre got all shredded and kind of honed his character. So if you're telling me that Keith Lee is Drew McIntyre at his initial appearance, and we can hone him into a Drew McIntyre level superstar, that would be a titanic clash if they could figure out how to make Keith Lee an A+ to go against Drew. So I wouldn't see it as a negative. The only thing I'm worried about is my beloved Otis. I can already see he's lost weight, and it looks like they're going to ask him to lose even more. But he's so short. I don't know if that's a good idea. I thought the cannonball look was a good one for him. So, we'll see how that story progresses. But again, I think the consensus on BOD is it's a positive for those gentlemen. So, Matt, without further ado, Matt, we're getting close to that hour. So let's do it. We got the Wednesday Night Wars, where we do the top 3 moments of each show and include usually a dishonorable mention. We're
going to run through these a little bit quicker than usual, everybody. There's We got a little baby that's not going to sleep, so Matt's got to go help that little baby. So
Oh,
let's
baby's
do
having a heel turn. This week, I gotta say, I think I lost. I think
yes.
even with the articles that came out that said the AEW Nielsen ratings were through the roof, Matt, I think NXT won. Especially when you
Absolutely.
have a match of the year candidate.
I think that I mean I'm right there with you. And it's almost a couple weeks in a row we've gotten some match of the year conversations, or at least a couple in the last month. But yeah, Mike, you're number 3 for AEW segment for the hashtag Wednesday Night Warriors WNW.
I'm gonna throw this in there because I just like the idea of they've always been called the Inner Circle, but we haven't actually seen them be the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
The Inner Circle actually teaming up against Top Flight best friends and the Varsity Blondes with Brian Pillman Jr., who Matt, he's kicking some ass out there. He kind of looks like a late '90s wrestler with the beef, but he's still kind of athletic. So give me more segments with that dude. And then, of course, MJF taking another opportunity to kind of steal the spotlight, steal the glory, and I'm it's my moment number 3. That's all it deserves. But it's just NXT was such a superior show, man. Gonna be hard. But what was moment number
Right.
3? Extra
No,
time.
it's kind of sad what I have to cross off the list, but number 3 for me, and it gets into the personal side because Thatcher's involved with this, but it's Tommaso Ciampa and Tyler Rust going at it. Tremendous match. Ciampa again just keeps doling out these I don't want to say 5-star matches, but he does so much for everybody on this NXT roster to make sure that they get to, they're going to go over. But the way that they're building up this feud and the show of respect going either way for Thatcher and Ciampa is incredible. Like, these guys don't just, like, the bell it goes off and the two are going into fisticuffs. It's something where they want to, like, it's almost like they want to teach each other. So it's just it's beautiful to see. But that's where this becomes my number 3, because you get a great match of Ciampa and Rust, and then you get to mix in with that more development of what the story is going to be with these two. And ultimately, I would say it would make sense if they became a tag team after all this. But Mike, you're number 2 for AEW.
So I didn't think I'm going to include it. I don't give a damn. Man, I'm going to say the women's match. Not that it was the greatest match of all time, but it's coming in at number 2. It was Big Swole and Serena Deeb versus Diamante and Ivelisse. The reason that I liked it is not just that it was competitive, that it actually got a commercial. They got a little bit of time to tell a story. Was that in the aftermath, all hell started breaking loose. Vicky Guerrero came out with Nyla Rose, and they were starting to pummel the faces. And then Red Velvet came out with a chair. So I know a couple things, Matt. Obviously, there's no crowd thanks COVID, but I know the people circling the ring are on the AEW payroll. But there was a Big Swole chant, and I was just like, thank God somebody is resonating with this crowd. Maybe Cody will do that little gif in the background and be like, hey, maybe we should give them a storyline or two.
Right.
But outside of zooming into Cody's ear, I really liked what I've seen from Red Velvet. I'm glad it's not just going to be one-off matches. I'm glad that there's some extra sideshow shenanigans for her to get involved with, because she's impressed in the ring. So, give her a chance to kind of, do that extracurricular and be the theater part of wrestling. So please give Red Velvet a chance. Matt, moment number 2, next extra time. What do you got?
Any other week, this would probably be number 1, and that's how great of a show this was. But it's Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm getting 2 different storylines pushed forward in their match, and also getting one of their better matches. Doing some research, I saw that a lot of people are actually they're not huge fans of what this rivalry was back at NXT UK. I don't think I hated it as much as everyone else, and it was matches that I was excited to watch. But that being said, I don't know how you could continue to make that argument after what happened last night. I thought these two put on a banger of a match. Toni looks like she's taken like leaps and bounds forward, and Rhea is just Rhea. But also what we got is now Toni winning means she's prime position to fight to face Io, and Raquel Gonzalez getting involved and letting us know that feud is not over was extremely exciting. So again, this is everything I want out of a segment. It is fantastic wrestling. Again, I think it's one of the better bouts that these two ladies had, going back to their feuds back at the Mae Young Classic. But to put the capper on this, this is also pushing forward two different storylines, two different feuds. One of them has nothing to do with the championship, which is what I love so much about this NXT women's division, is that they give it so much time and effort. And this is just another example of that, to kind of go against what you just said, Mike, on what's going on in AEW. But so because they do it well and they continue to do it, that's where the applause comes in. Everybody knows what my number one's going to be. But Mike, your dishonorable mention for AEW this week.
It was kind of hard to do a dishonorable mention. It's just because there wasn't anything like blatantly awful, but it just didn't do a lot for me. Janela versus Kenny Omega. Yeah. And it had its pluses too. In back-to-back weeks, we got to hear Tony Schiavone say, "Shit, it's Sting!" And this week he said, "Kiss my ass." So he did his best to get this match going again, but I'm just not feeling the Impact invasion. I don't know if Omega really has. He doesn't really have the pipes to tell this story on the mic. That should be Cody's job. I'd say the only plus on this one is we got to hear a knife edge chop on a microphone, which was pretty cool. But moment number one, Matt, it's every time you see the Undertaker entrance, right? You get to see Shawn Michaels getting up and crying. I'm starting to put every time Eddie Kingston is holding a microphone in those moments where it's just can't miss TV, and him calling out Pac. Now he's friends with the Butcher and the Blade, the Lucha Bros, his former best friends coming out to battle him. The Murder Hawk, and Murder Hawk is now going to be part of a top storyline. He and Pac are fighting to see who gets the first piece of Eddie Kingston. The personalities in this match are so big that you forget that you're watching all heels battle against each other. It's a three-way heel battle. And the rooting interest is just quality wrestling. That's what we're rooting for. I don't know if I know WWE's kind of doubled down on shades of gray characters, Mm-hmm. But to just see all these heels in AEW just butt heads, I am giddy for the payoff match between Murder Hawk, Eddie, and Pac. It's going to be violent. It's going to be evil. It's going to be rotten. I don't think anybody is leaving that match feeling good, except for the fans. So I don't know how I went this long. I used to not eat shawarmas, and what a regret, what a mistake that was, all those wasted years. Eddie Kingston, for me, is the shawarmas of wrestling. All those wasted years, I could have been watching him on the indies, just owning the microphone. And at least now I know what a wonderful man he is. Matt, your dishonorable mention.
It's really hard to pick one because the show was great. I totally get what they were doing here, but I'm just going to go Shotzi and Indy because it didn't do too much for me. But that's all I can really say because it wasn't really that bad. It just wasn't my favorite segment of the whole night. It's probably just last place in a great night of pro wrestling. But number one on NXT is easy. Mike, we got a match of the year candidate. It's the reason why we didn't even start doing our match of the years because we also have DLC coming up. But are we really going to get something there? Who knows? But, this was something where we got some fantastic mat wrestling. And what's funny is NXT is really becoming the destination for technical mat wrestling, especially with Thatcher being involved. And holy shit, is Kyle O'Reilly versus Timothy Thatcher going to be amazing? But getting back to what Pete Dunne and Kyle just did, it made me go back and watch the old NXT Championship match of Kyle versus Pete Dunne, which is also a banger, and I highly recommend you guys go check that out. But, Mike, this one, again, just continued to show off how great Kyle is. You really hope that this push is going to continue for him, that he's going to turn into a baby face of NXT. Mike, give us some fresh matches like Triple H was talking about WWE a couple years ago today. But on top of that, It's also, or you know what? I also can't forget to mention that tug of war that they did in the corner. One of the coolest things I've seen. I don't know if you've seen it yet, where they have each other's arms and they're pulling each other's heads into the corners. They're on either side of the turnbuckle. An amazing moment. And then, of course, the knee to the back of the head from the top rope is such a great ending to the match. And it's so wonderful that the call is just a knee to the back of the head from the top rope from Vic Joseph. Like, it really is. That's all that needed to be said. And that's the final blow to take out Pete Dunne. And again, moving forward, we're getting the storyline I think we all want. And the storyline is, Finn Balor won against Kyle, but he broke his freaking jaw. So this is where this story is going to go. This is fabulous. That obviously Pete Dunne at any time against Finn Balor is going to be great. But let's see what happens with Kyle and Finn. And can Finn overcome winning over Kyle and not being completely destroyed in regards to his body, his jaw, and his bones being broken? Another great story. So that, Mike, again, I think as we normally like to wrap these up and just kind of say, were we right in selecting who won the week? I think absolutely we were. NXT really threw out two matches that were match of the night. So they went 1 and 2 in regards to Tony and Rhea for me. And then match of the year candidate in regards to Pete and Kyle. So it's a no-brainer to me. But I hate to do it to you, Mike, but we just got to keep rolling. Because I can still hear her screaming away, and man, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble tonight. But Mike, we've got TLC coming up this weekend. So as always, we want to give everybody our quick hot takes. So let's start at the bottom of the card. New Day versus the Hurt Business. We got the tag team match for the WWE Raw tag team titles. This is going to be Shelton and Cedric versus Kofi and Xavier. Mike, who you got?
I'm not ready to just change hands for the sake of changing hands. I still don't feel like Cedric and Shelton have been built enough where I'm ready for them to be champion. And if they win now, I think just both of them look weaker. I still think you got to give the New Day the win, as WWE, for whatever reason, continues to struggle to figure out how to build not a single tag team. We've done that. We've done it on 2 shows, but to build a division. For some reason, they can't get the pieces to fit. They can't build a division. So, Matt, I got to give it to the New Day.
I'm going to say they gave Cedric his signature win, which we've been talking about since the show started. Your pro wrestlers need their signature win to move up to the next tier. I like that they did that, and I think this is an opportunity for Cedric to do something great to get the win over the New Day. I'm going to change titles. The Hurt Business are going over. Mike, we're building this tag division because the New Day are going to be fine. All right, so next, Sasha Banks and Carmella. There's not too much I want to dissect here, but this feels like we're filling up some space in the schedule. So Carmella's doing fine. I think she's more focused on character right now. Honestly, I hope that her attire was her choice, because I don't like that her focus of the character just appears to be a change of attire. I don't, like I'm not a huge fan of that. And I think it just would say that that's not enough of a change to say that she's good enough to beat Sasha. I think this is Sasha taking it. This really was just a schedule filler.
Yeah, it's a little bit like like when Moxley was recently getting contenders for his championship, but they were so quickly built. Like you knew that they didn't really have a shot at coming out on top. So, man, let me hot tag you here. What's the best?
Damn it, no! Just keep running. I told you, I gotta go.
What's the best case for Carmella after this match? Because she's not winning.
They have to make some stories that have nothing to do with titles on the main roster. Like we love the NXT women's division, and it has to start at some point to look like that. Because even when they do those stories, they just turn into something where it's schmaz finishes and stuff like that, where they're still struggling to give us non-title matches that work out. But yeah, that's best case for Carmella, that they're going to give her a story that has nothing to do with the title, and she can actually just start winning.
Hopefully Corey Graves not involved. Matt, we got a couple championship matches too for our head of the table. Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman, of course, going up against Kevin Owens. There's a 0% chance of Kevin Owens coming out on top on this one. It's just, for me, what I'm excited about is Kevin Owens should always be involved in matches where there's opportunities for creativity. I'm very excited to see what kind of Tower of Doom he can build this year out of his tables, chairs, and ladders.
Like he did with Dean/John Moxley.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite moments. I think he went through like a stack of 2 or 3 tables over the turnbuckle. But he's got no shot of winning this one. Matt, what's the rooting interest for you in this match?
I think it's fun that this is the first, like, Kevin Owens is involved in a championship match, and I think we're all like, yeah, but hopefully Kevin doesn't win. It's good that they've done such a great job in telling Roman's story that we're fine now that Roman's just going to keep winning and he could be Roman Reigns.
That's beautiful.
This would be absolutely, it would destroy any momentum he has to see Kevin Owens win, and that is so good to be able to say that finally in regards to a Roman Reigns storyline. It feels good. So, yeah. Roman, absolutely.
You'd ever be saying that, like how much we loved Kevin Owens and how much we loathed Roman Reigns?
Mike, you'd have to say the WWE gave us what we wanted.
They made us like Roman. Matt, just for me and I, there's going to be a women's tag team title match. It's going to be Nia and Shayna, Shayna, my boo, against Asuka, my boo-boo, and player to be named later. Doesn't usually bode well when it's a player to be named later. Not usually the best player you're getting in that acquisition. I don't know if I want you to guess who that person's going to be, but I'm going to do it. Matt, is there anybody who could get picked to parachute in and help Asuka, much like Bill Burr did in the recent episode of Mandalorian? Just parachute in, help out Mando or Asuka. Matt, is there anyone who could hop in and get a win? Take those belts off of Nia and Shayna.
I mean, as far as I know, Kairi's been working she's still doing like WWE work. She's just doing it in another country/continent. So there's still that possibility. If they have a working relationship, she could come back, and that would, it would be, I mean, that's the ideal, right? But I think there's also the Mandy Rose stuff. What I would love is Mandy Rose to come out and announce that the Kabuki Warriors are back together. That would be a fun way to do it. Is have us all go, oh, hey, Mandy.
Oh,
right.
That for me would give like genuine chills if Kairi Sane came out and helped Asuka triumph over Nia and Shayna. There might be a tear shed in my house over here. That's how beautiful a moment that would be.
If that does happen, we've got new tag champs. If anything else happens, it's Nia and Shayna.
The rest of the field, it's Nia and Shayna. Matt, what if it's like Rhea Ripley? Ooh. No, it won't be. Matt, we got a Firefly Inferno match. Bray Wyatt with his little buddy, Alexa Bliss, against Randall Kevin Orton. I can't remember what his middle initial is, but I just only a few days ago learned what RKO is also Randy's initials. Did you know that?
No, I'm learning it too.
Yeah, it's like Randy Kevin Orton or something. This match, it's just, Bray Wyatt has always talked about he doesn't really care about championships. He's always wanted the mystique of like being like the Undertaker. He's done it. I am very excited to watch Roman. You know how we feel about Drew, but this is the match I'm most looking forward to. I can't wait to see what kind of weird shit Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton do, and somebody's leaving that match on fire. I didn't need a burn. I didn't need a burn mark, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here too will be, is this a cinematic match, or is this just going to be like the old Inferno matches and we're just labeling it a Firefly Inferno match? Really, honestly, I want another cinematic match. I'm cool with that. Give me cinema. Give me something like that. So I mean, this has to be the Fiend too. That's my pick. And Mike, the final match: Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles. I think the better thing here is McIntyre's got to go over. He's got a better story to be told with Sheamus. This is filling out a schedule, but unlike Carmella and Sasha going at it, Mike, this has potential for some match of the year quality because it's AJ Styles, and AJ just brings it. And if you have one of my favorites, one of the best in the business right now, I have no problem saying that, in Drew McIntyre against one of the best of all time in AJ Styles. It doesn't matter who wins because Drew can always get the title back. He already proved that with his Randy Orton feud. But yeah, this is just going to be so much fun to watch, and I can't wait for this one either. So, I mean, really, you're talking about a TLC of a pay-per-view I could throw away most years. At least if I missed it, I'd be like, oh, shoot, I'll catch it later. This is one I want to make sure I catch the moment it happens. And, yeah, I don't know if I took all the points away, but
no, Drew, I think when they took the belt off him, gave it to Randy, it tried to prove that he is fallible. And then when he won it back, it's kind of like, oh, so now they take him seriously. Like he actually gets to defeat Randy and get his belt back. So, okay, cool. I think with this match, there's definitely a pretty, of all the other of all the other title matches on the card, this is the one that I think has the best chance for a change. If only because so many things are stacked against Drew. He's already fighting AJ Styles. AJ Styles has a sidekick. There's weapons involved. And The Miz is on the peripheral and not on the card. I don't know if they're going to burn the Money in the Bank, as the last pay-per-view here before the new year, but right. I wouldn't be surprised. And it would just kind of give Drew something to do and ultimately have a rematch with AJ at the Royal Rumble. So I want Drew, but I could kind of see all those obstacles getting in Drew's way for retaining.
Yeah, and honestly, everybody, I'm going to apologize again. I got to run, personal stuff coming up, but we'll be around on Sunday to chat live during the show. So this is going to be a hell of a night. I really think this is really stacking up to be one of the better pay-per-views all year, especially if this gets rolling, Mike, and we get another like 2.5 hour pay-per-view like we've been getting all year. I am super game for that. So check us out. Everything else, though, at bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. We do have our shop that's available on the homepage at bodpodcast.com. Just hit the shop button. Takes you right there. You can shop around, get yourself some mugs and some T-shirts and some hats. No hats yet, but there are some sweatshirts. Go check it out. And on Twitter, at bodpodcast. YouTube channel is Brothers of Discussion. You won't miss a thing if you subscribe. We're also doing some live gaming, too, so check that out as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Sorry I have to run. I apologize. Have a good weekend.